Oops. Well, We've started.
Oh, we're on. We're ready to go. We're flowing. We're away. Last episode we spoke about the draft, and this episode we're going to focus on a couple of things. First of all, Gary Ablett, he's been given number 4, mate. Ablett, and you were mentioning that could not work well if you were 4. That would be an unlucky number in Japan because 4 is she. That means death. Bryce Gibbs, it was good for him. Bryce Gibbs has gone to 6.
42 is the only worst number, isn't it, in Japan?
Good question.
444
was my old apartment. Everyone who got so if you got an apartment on 4th floor, a lot of hospitals, there's no 4th floor in hospitals because it's an unlucky number. And,
it's like the 13th for us.
Yeah.
And 9 was another one.
9 is a death number as well. 87 for the Australian cricket team.
13 away from 100.
111 for England.
Is that right? 111.
Or was it 114? I think it was 111. The Lord Nelson or something it's called. Anyway, I'll double check that one. Other numbers? Good luck numbers. Lucky numbers. 8 for China.
Very lucky. 3 is a big one.
3. Yeah, well, if you go to the toilet, you can't say, if somebody says, what are you doing, number 1 or number 2? And if you said, I'm going for number 3.
See ya. I'll see you in an hour. Don't go in there for about 35 to 45 minutes.
So if they see you in 5, all right, Carlton hasn't decided on their numbers yet, but we've got 2, 4, 16. They're getting number 7's up as well. So there's some options there for our rookies and for our new guns. Roscoe, what's happening up in Brisbane?
I've got no idea the numbers, who they're allocating yet. I'm not sure if they have.
That hasn't come through yet, Brisbane, right?
No. I was just reading Channel 9. Number 9 in Japan. Did you mention that was an unlucky number?
Yes.
Number 4 and 9.
Yeah, because 9. Do you know why? 9.
Suffering.
Yes. Yeah. Suffering.
Yeah.
It sounds similar to the Japanese word for torture or suffering. And 17. Some Italians are superstitious about Friday the 17th because rearranging the Roman numeral XV11 can create the word Vixi, translated from Latin to mean my life is over.
Oh,
do you know?
So they've got a movie called Friday the 17th, and a guy called Mario goes around with a knife on a Vespa, saying "Molto buono, come stai, come ti chiamo."
He doesn't say hasta la vista, does he? No, what was my one? He does a
Wiedersehen.
Oh, Wiedersehen. Oh, Wiedersehen. Until we meet again.
Ciao.
And,
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao.
Ciao, Vixi.
Ciao, Vixi. So, in that case, the new guy, Rayner, will probably wear... Clay Beams, by the way, got redrafted, which was an interesting pickup. Or redraft.
Yep.
He won't be leaving anywhere. You think that's good?
You know what? He is a good. He's the leader at the club. He's Beamsy. He's our captain's brother. He's a good team man. He actually plays all right. He doesn't finish well. My frustration is he gets possessions and he has shots from around 30, right around the whole arc, and he probably misses 8 out of 10. If he nails them, he'd be actually in our best 22.
So there might be some room for him then if he can get his the end game on and finish it up and score 6. So perhaps so the other thing in Geelong, you've got Ablett taking number 4. Who else did you pick up? Who else with the big names? Because you got
Crameri. There was a bit of I like
Crameri, I think.
Crameri. Yeah, you guys think he's is he tall?
He's a big.
He's 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2", is he?
Okay, so that's big enough. Yeah.
Key. He's your backup for Tom, and he's going to be wearing what number?
90.
90. Well, it's just come out today. I should have had another look, a clearer look.
Why is... I just want quickly... I think it's Port Adelaide. Number 1 is their captain. Are there any other teams that have tradition around numbers?
Good point. Well, Collingwood don't have Darren Mullane's number, 42.
42.
So there's no 42 at Collingwood for Mullane in memory for the 91 car accident. That was the end of Mullane. He was the best winger. I think he was one of their best wingers of all time. Another number 25 at Carlton was considered to be a little bit royalty until Frank Marcazzani was taken. We mentioned him last week, didn't we? Yeah. And then I tell you what, Fitzroy had Paul Roos wore number 1, didn't he? Talking about number 1.
Yeah, no, he did wear number 1. Well, I don't think there are any numbers retired. We don't have the same culture that they have in, say, basketball where they retire jerseys. And rugby position means you get so for rugby, whatever position you're in determines the number, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, same as soccer as well. Yeah.
That's getting looser and looser nowadays. But you see with soccer, sort of 9, 7, 9, especially 9 and 10, and maybe 11 with the forwards and the goalkeeper number 1. But that seems to be a little bit all over the place. A little bit 3, 4, 5 defenders. I know with gridiron, there's brackets, so 8 between the 80s have to be the receivers and that sort of thing. I did want to ask, why is Friday the 13th seen as unlucky?
Is it the Templars? Is that the day that there was an edict from the Pope to kill all of the Knights Templars across Europe?
Bestiality and other...
Yeah.
Really? I thought it's under the 12...
False accusations.
The 12 apostles. Wasn't it the 12 apostles? And Jesus was the made 13, and so that's the unlucky number? Because
Friday,
if you had 13 people to do it, okay.
It was the Pope said, let's get rid of these Templars. And
too much power.
Yes. And what was their power? One of their powers, big powers.
You got me.
Fingers.
They were the first. They invented the first credit cards. So you could go on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. You could get a bit of paper saying you've got X amount of dollars or X amount of gold in the bank in London, let's say, and you could give that bit of paper to the local Templar bank or church, and they'd give you cash. It was ingenious, and I guess maybe it's a little bit like Bitcoin right now. The Ascent of Money. Great documentary. Ascent of Money. Is a
I'll add it to the Dingoes media list. It's actually quite a long. Yeah, the media list. We might have to publish it one day.
Oh, crikey, I might have to.
So 13 is an unlucky number for some. If you've worn it, where did you wear it? How did you feel when you put that on?
I was against it, actually. It was just I had to. It was actually a backup Guernsey or jersey for our one import. They could only have one American import that season, because the season before we tried to do a Carlton and we had like 6. And they said, right, that's none of that, no more of that. And then, he was just his spare one. He was wearing number 18. I put on the 13, and I had the best season ever with that number. So I think I kind of forgot about it. But I remember at the first I did sort of balk. But ever since then, 13 has been a lucky number for me.
If you wore 11, that could be E, like E, good.
E.
Yeah.
In
So,
Japanese.
like,
E.
yeah. So, like, the 22nd of November would be I fufu, like good couple, or 11th of the 29th of November would be I niku, like good meat.
Fuck me. That was fast. Fuck you.
Fuck me, fuck you. Austin Powers. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Now you had a screen up, and what was this about? What was this?
That
all
was
about?
the ass scent of money.
Yeah. It's it's in it. It's a book, but it's also a doco. It's worth having a look at. It's quite a bit of detail to it. But,
So the history
it's
of money.
fascinating. Yeah, yeah.
And
Shylock's Pound of Flesh to Loan Sharks in Glasgow. Yep. Credit.
yeah, that's
So
an
there was
interesting
actual pounds of flesh. Was that an actual thing?
Yeah, I think there's elements of I'm not sure of truth to the process or something like that, but that always fascinated me. I used to always think, can you take a pound of flesh and still survive?
You thought about that,
No
Roscoe?
chance.
See, Roscoe goes to dark places. He's integrated the shadow, perhaps.
Yes, you're a monster. Because Joe, you're a monster.
Was that from Risky Business? Is that
What?
Risky Business?
No, that's Jordan Peterson. That was a poor Canadian accent.
That sounded more like Joe.
You're a monster.
You're a monster, eh? Sorry.
You know.
You know? He has got a way of saying that. Anyway. Critical acclaim. Ferguson takes on an enlightening and lightning enjoyable. What's spelunking?
That is cave dwelling, cave diving, or whatever it is. Spelunking. If you're a spelunker, you like to cave dive.
Is that right?
Great word.
That's an exploration of caves, especially as a hobby. Do you know? I actually get claustrophobic, so the idea of caving is just so not interesting for me. It's just yuck.
She's not the spelunker.
Do you remember I drove in your car and you've got a small car, like because you don't have a family car, you just got you and your wife. And I said, no, I'm not getting in the back. And you and your wife had to take turns sitting in the back while I took the passenger. Do you remember that? Caving is not my thing. Getting in a small car is not my thing. Don't worry, Roscoe. I've been in your car too, and you've got a big family car. I was okay in the back of yours.
I remember you complained that I was driving too fast. I was doing like the speed limit. You were holding on. You're saying, you're driving too fast.
I have to hold on to the roof when Jukes is driving. He drives like a maniac. And
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah. I'm a 60. You want to know a good number if you're Australian? 60 is the number. By the way, that's the speed limit, by the way, not 70 or 80 or in Jukes' case, 85, 90.
I got a speeding ticket when you were here.
Did you?
Yeah, we got done by the touch fields. I think I was doing 69 in a 60 zone.
I reckon we were not doing 69 while I was in the car, mate.
That's a 3 demerit point hit there. That's 3 demerit points.
69?
I don't know where I'm at, actually. 69, 9, because they've got, it's not like 5 over, 10 over.
I thought they gave you 10% leeway, don't they?
I think they even gave me that. I might have been 72 and we'll book you for 79 or 69.
By the way, just on numbers, here's another one for you.
Numbers.
I got offered in Japanese yen a job and it was paying 8 million yen. And so I looked at how much that is in like monthly salaries, and that's 666,000. And I was like, ooh, do I want that job? And that was one of the reasons I was like, nah. Don't want that job. 666,000. Would you take a job that was paying 666,666 per month? Would you delve there?
Well, it's interesting.
I'd take one that paid 6,666,000. I'd say, give me the number of the beast, baby.
It's literally beastie. It's The double six, it's 666 666. That is your monthly salary before taxes.
Yeah,
come
I would
into it.
struggle with that. 666 does pose. I do watching The Omen as a child with Gregory
Oh,
Peck.
that movie.
Left an indelible mark on me. It's quite scary. The scissors, the
that-
Rottweiler.
That's the only movie I've seen. Usually a movie is like really bad and then it comes good. They go, it's really good and then it ends badly, sort of thing.
There's a few
like a
movies
movie
that
like
bad.
Requiem for a Dream. Things just get worse and
yeah,
worse and worse. I can't remember how actually if that finishes all right, but that Omen just everything gets kind of bad at the start, not bad, and it just got worse. And there was no relief at the end. There was no. It's okay.
Horrible.
Like things are gonna get worse in the sequel.
Yeah, a very dark movie.
Gregory Peck. He's got a really good voice. Good voice for TV. Good voice for movies.
I was talking about the book the other day.
Kill a Mockingbird.
And Atticus Finch. His portrayal of Atticus is great. It makes you want to be a father. The way his moral stance against bigotry and racism. It's a great story. And Gregory Peck, even though it's happened now, I don't think I could think of anyone who could play that character of a strong father, the father who is someone that is hero-like and honourable. Gregory Peck, great actor.
Robert Mitchum reminds me of, they kind of played similar roles back in the day.
Yeah, well, they were in Cape Fear, the original Cape Fear.
There you go. Do you remember the newer one was Robert Mitchum? He's a scary guy. And De Niro was up to his best as well.
We watched it. Liam, you, Bexy, and I watched it at your house. Yeah,
no, that was at Liam's house. I said that was the best film. No,
that was Liam's house. Yeah, it was Liam's. I was thinking if it was the time we drank Jerry's beer, and he came home and we drank his beer out of the fridge. No, not me last beer. and Liam was shitting himself because Jerry's a big bloke, and Liam's like, oh fuck, he drank his last beer.
Quickly get him a beer. So so numbers. We're going to go, just moving from numbers, we're going to go to the cricket because you were talking, Steve Smith was mentioned.
The Ashes. Gabba. So what a game at the Gabba.
Moved to the Gabba. Now, I got to tell you, I didn't watch any. I didn't watch a ball, but I did go to the Boxing Day test with you blokes last year, and what a game! What a Boxing Day test that was. I actually went to the 5th day as well and watched the end of that test, and it was really exciting stuff. I watched 5 wickets in 2 hours, and Australia take the game. Bloody great game.
So, and we've just who we played. Who were we playing? Pakistan.
Yeah, Pakistan.
Yep. And and I got to say, I watched How's That as well. The documentary, the mini series with Kerry Packer being the focus. What a good show that was! Did you see that?
How's that?
I watched it a few years ago when it first came out. It was riveting TV. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So what's happening with Stephen Smith? You were talking about Stephen Smith in the last test, and that is he our new Bradman?
Bradman like.
So we were talking about averages. So to average 50 is the elite status. If you average over 50 for your career, you're considered elite. But then if you think about Ricky Ponting, even Sachin Tendulkar, they're sort of high 50. So they're a step above that elite status where they get to where you can say that they're almost within the pantheon. But Steve Smith's averaging 61 at the moment. So statistically, if you think about 100 or 150 years of cricket, the guy is as close to Bradman as you can kind of get. I think there was the South African guy averaged around 70. The guy we didn't see much of him because of apartheid. Was it Pollock? Sean Pollock's uncle, Graham Pollock. I think he is the only other player that's averaged that much. Obviously, Steve Smith's got a fair way to go, but to average 61 is impressive. And as a captain, he's averaging 71. So since he's taken the mantle which is second only in Australia to the office of the Prime Minister. The lad is averaging 71, and so that is in itself a mighty fine effort. And I was just talking, his technique it's not orthodox. He's kind of really fidgety and plays across the line. And TD, you were saying that Don was similar, just put bowlers off by his ability to play the ball wherever he wanted to, no matter where they bowled it. So the fields last week, Joe Root he set a field that was kind of like a modern version of Bodyline. He had everyone on the onside.
I remember clipping a bit of flack from the commentators on Saturday. On the Saturday, I remember them saying, this is not cricket.
Yeah.
So, Steve Smith, where does he come in? Which drop? Is he first drop?
Second drop, number 4.
So, if you were to play cricket, would you put your best batsman in early? Do you think, or should you get to shine off the
ball myself?
the force to where the best goes?
Yeah. Although Ricky Ponting batted 3, didn't he? Yeah, I think 4.
I don't know. Graham Wood was handy, and he used to open up the batting. Do you remember Graham Wood with his?
Yeah, I remember watching a game against the Windies. First ball of the game, he went out, and because we were all pumped up. And was it Joel Garner or Malcolm Marshall, the Barbados banger? Short ball at his head, edge to second slip. Gordon Greenidge or Desmond Haynes, big black hands, snaffled the ball, and I knew it was going to be a long day, and it was. We got trounced, MCG. But you know what? 90,000 people still drank and did horrendous things in Bay 13.
Bay 13. Yeah, talking about numbers, Bay 13. That was where
we relish it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was now. It's still when I was there last summer. Yeah, Bay 13 was still going. They're still singing. They're still out there. And they
do snake cups now.
Really? And I'm pretty sure that the Barmy Army, do they sit in Bay 14?
I'm not sure.
Usually a little bit around punt right in. You can't stop the snake. You can't stop the snake. I love that.
You know what I love? The tradition now where on the Sydney Test, Bobby Hawke sculls his beer every year now. He gets into the crowd and sculls the beer.
Do you know,
every year.
I should mention, all right, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Bob, but I should mention that he's a really well-educated guy. He's a Rhodes Scholar.
What's a Rhodes Scholar?
He went to Oxford, graduated.
So the Rhodes Scholarship was created by Cecil Rhodes, whose Rhodesia, which is modern-day Zimbabwe, is named after him. It was horrible, and he killed a lot of people and was a colonialist. And what he did was created the Rhodes Scholarship so people would legacy. Jordan Peterson talking about that. So that would be his legacy to sort of hide the fact that he was an all-round prick.
It's the same with Nobel Peace Prize. He was a dynamite guy.
Yeah, Charles Nobel.
So Rhodes Cecil was a prick, was he?
Yeah, that was my, I think it was like the first year uni history lecturer gave us a bit of a rundown on Cecil Rhodes and, a bit of slavery and kind of used Zimbabwe or Rhodesia for his own benefit, extracted as much nutrient out of the economy and mining.
So my understanding was the Rhodes Scholar was very good at academics and extracurricular activities, not including sculling beer, but more on the paddock type of thing.
Yeah. Well, Tony Abbott is a Rhodes Scholar, and
Tony Abbott.
I mean,
our Prime Minister.
I don't find him to be an overly intelligent. He is obviously, but he just seems like a blonk.
Well, just on Abbott, I think both Abbott and Hawke have a lot of similarities in a lot of ways. They're ethically family principled people. Mind you, Bob left Hazel and
for Blanche
and found love elsewhere. Tony Abbott is he's a real family man and.
Tony Abbott's sister is a lesbian, and he loves his sister, but he is staunchly anti gay marriage.
Well,
doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. Yeah. So, well, anyway, the point I made about Bob Hawke was that he sounds like he's an ochre Aussie, and I think that it should be put clear that he's actually not. He's really well bred. Do you know what I mean? Like he's the beer sculling and stuff like that. He's not a lad on the hill.
I don't see why. I hate the pigeonholing. I think you can be a lad on the hill. You can be incredibly intellectual and intelligent. People just tend to think that if you're educated, you need to speak a certain way and conduct yourself a certain way. Well, to them, I say, here's two fingers.
Well, he's a two-finger type of guy as well, Bob.
It's
Richard Charlton wasn't too.
He probably came from a wealthy family, Bob Hawke.
Really I'm not sure.
How he got into the Labor, the unions.
The ACTU, yeah.
And then Labor. It's interesting. Anyway.
So Bob Hawke is the quintessential Australian, kind of like the Aussie battler, isn't he? So he's so my point is he's not quintessential Aussie battler. I think Steve Irwin is. You're talking Steve Smith. I think Steve Irwin is your quintessential. That guy gets a crocodile. He's out there. Mind you, I don't know. Maybe he was over the top. There's a few people suggested that Steve Irwin was actually not Australian, that he was some sort of commercial Australian. So there's another spin on that as well.
Commercial.
He was too commercial. He was like putting it on for the American audience. The author, I can't think right now. The Jane, someone I can't think. She said that he was a joke, and but the timing of it was rotten. She was saying this after he'd just been killed. Jane, someone, the one who did the movie The Piano.
Oh, Jane Campion.
Yeah, she was a.
That's not very good. South Park added him straight away into their comedy routine. They had Steve Irwin popping up, and he had the stingray barb still in his chest. So that caused, so they're unashamedly. So that was causing some angst, and there were some complaints delivered those boys.
And his son seems to be making a bit of a surge at the moment, and his daughter Bimbi.
Yeah, she was on. I think she won Dancing with the Stars in America. Bindi.
I'm just going to say I'm a big fan of Steve. I think he's a good guy. Look at him. He's out there with the animals, and he's loving Australia. Yeah. So we were going from cricket, and you're mentioning Ben, and we're going to go to Ben Simmons. Was that right?
No, Ben Stokes. It was the punch. So Tony hadn't heard about it. I'm not sure if you had. So a few months ago, at a nightclub, Ben Stokes punched up a couple of other people in London, and so it's all caught on CCTV footage. And so apparently these guys were vilifying a couple of gay patrons, and so Ben's punched them up. If you have a look at the video, and you can do that after the podcast, he literally punches them up. He throws about 20 punches in less than a minute. And he's an ex-rugby player, son of an All Black, so he can handle himself. And there's one part, so the guy's put his hand up to say, no, leave me, please stop. And Ben Stokes has still hit him, and then hit another guy when he was on the ground. So particularly vicious, a particularly vicious street brawl. And so he's been stood down from the English team. And whilst there are no charges being pressed, it's been sent to the office of the public prosecutor in whatever county it was. Sorry, it wasn't London, wherever it was. And but the Poms, after losing game 1 in the Ashes, are desperate because he's as close to Freddie Flintoff as you get. He's probably the world's best all-rounder, and he's their talisman at the moment. So the question is, What do? Do you stand by your moral judgment? You think about David Hookes, one punch killed. David Warner clipped Joe Root before the Ashes of in England, and it was a kind of a soft one. He gets suspended for two matches. But England are so desperate to not lose the Ashes and have a 5-0 drubbing that they're prepared to, it looks like they're looking for any way that they can get him to play. And so we're talking about, what.
Yeah, well, should his personal life get involved, in the game itself? Like, should he be allowed to play? That's a good ethical question there.
Are they held to a higher standard?
Yeah.
Do you know, just on that, you mentioned he punched somebody like 20 odd times or something. Do you know, if you punch somebody 5 times in Japan, that person is allowed to defend themselves, and if they kill you, or if you get punched 5 times, you're allowed to kill the other person, and it's not.
Wow! So that's their threshold, the 5 punch.
Yeah, 5 punches is like that's a threshold, as you mentioned, and so you're good to defend yourself to the last end. Where Australia, if you get punched 5 times, you've got to write a letter of reference to your solicitor, who then has to take it through this political correctness. You've got to say, "Excuse me, would you please stop punching me? I've got to get this on video," and all the rest of it. Also, I got to say that, people, when they get into arguments, they're getting the phone out and putting it in each other's face. I think that should be, hello, Bob. I think that should be questioned as well, whether or not, filming people in a violent manner, whether that's assault. Because, like the modern day sword is the telephone. This is the modern day sword.
Gives his thumbs up at the end. Cheerio.
Yeah, look, it is invasive.
The phone is mightier than the sword.
No, it's the modern day sword. This is your modern day sword. If you want to fight, let's do battle. Yeah.
Dash cams on bikes, Walshy, as well. So cyclists now, they've got their little dash cam or handlebar cam to show when motorists veer off the road. And we've become a litigious society. There's so much litigation now, people trying to sue or sort of heading down that US kind of track. But I was saying before, if Ben Stokes did this, right, and he got into a fight and he's punched some bloke up, and it was just verbal, hearsay, it would be different. But because there's CCTV footage and you see it, it makes it takes it to a whole another level. Anyway, the guy that he punched has a fractured eye socket as well. The ocular cavity has a fracture.
Wow. So, and being isn't it a gentleman's game? Cricket's such a gentleman's game. If you play for England, the home of cricket, you'd expect to live up to a higher standard, as you mentioned earlier, Juicy. And I don't know. I think that I think you should be able to play, but I think politics, legal things, they're separate. You should be free to go. If you're not in jail, then you've got your free liberty. You should be able to play whatever's happening in your personal life. That's your personal life.
What do you think, Roscoe?
I think if he's it's taken. I think if he's been charged, then potentially stand him down. In Australia, probably, Walsh, you've been out of the country for a while, but the whole one-punch kill has become massive. People are dying all the time. There was I used to play against Lower Plenty, and there was a young kid killed a couple of years ago, and he literally did nothing. He was trying to help his mate out of the fight, and some guy who had studied martial arts punches him in the head, and his head he went home that night, and then his brain sort of just wanted to pop out of his ears. He died, and he'd never been in a fight in his life. A young sort of chap, and it's happening like it's probably a couple of a year. And then there are ones you don't hear about where people become vegetables or other stuff. So it's become a really sensitive topic here. Having a son who's 16 and who's about to start going out, and I have been hit. I've been king hit when I've been out at pubs and stuff like that. It's kind of scary. So this was where we were talking about UFC, right? So I was watching UFC last night, and it was local Aussie stuff. And this guy, people are knocking out their opponents and then taunting them while they're on the ground. Or the whole UFC, you can hit them, and then when they're on the ground, you keep punching until they're out. To me, that's not sport. That's taking us back to a base level of barbarism. To the Romans fighting the Visigoths and stuff like that, and that's now I think it's influencing younger people. You see, because UFC has become one of the most popular sports in the world, and it is massive amongst Gen Ys that I work with, and you can't tell me that if young kids see that you can punch people on the ground or stomp on them, they're not going to do it. So I think Stokes should be held to account. Personally.
So no chance of making the national team until.
I think if they clear him, he needs to, acquittal.
What about?
You've got to watch the video.
What about if he's found guilty and not jailed? What about then?
I think then whatever it is, a suspension or the contract's torn up, he does penance. So the thing, and I'm a massive believer in, unless it's murder, but even then you can be, saints will always have a past, sinners will always have a future. So there's always redemption. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, that way people can always find redemption, but there's certainly, if you hurt someone or you commit a heinous crime like that, I think there needs to be some sort of retribution.
And joint punishment.
Yeah. No, you go.
Joint punishment, so the legal system as well as a professional or a parallel judicial thing, punishment.
Yeah, I think sporting clubs now have a whole value system, and I think if people step out, yeah. The Collingwood districts at our club that we played in, you'd actually be celebrated for that punch. There'd be an honour board for king hits and knockouts.
Oh, really?
The
king hit in gold. Who's the king hitter of the year?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
But it's interesting, right? And the other part we were talking about, Jukesy, before Walshy as well, was grand final week, how the tribunal completely changes the way it grades incidents because they don't want anyone to be rubbed out for the grand final.